People are oddly obsessed with the trans community and the Jewish community and demonizing them both.
Suddenly, everyone's saying how much they hate Israel, hate Zionism, which is like they never even heard of that word before.
You sort of tricked people into relating to one another.
You really think that the majority of people support a genocide? No, why would I support a genocide? Something's a little fishy here.
Welcome back to Being Jewish 30-Minute Mensches. Same vibe, same tribe, shorter episodes. My guest today is a beacon of beauty and bravery who boldly uses her platform as a Jewish trans woman to advocate for inclusion and understanding. If you're one of my listeners who just got uncomfortable at the word trans, don't click away. My guest is here to engage and educate, and aside from being a national CoverGirl model and content creator, she is a loud and proud Jew dealing with the same stuff we all are, and then some. So learn something, won't you? Please give the warmest welcome to Madison Werner. Madison, thanks for being here.
Hello, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
So excited to have you. So, as I was thinking and preparing for this episode, being trans has parallels to being Jewish in today's society, in that most people have never met a trans person, most people have never met a Jewish person, most people base their entire internal narrative off of the news and what other people say and other people's ideas rather than direct engagement. And yet also people are oddly obsessed with the trans community and the Jewish community and demonizing them both, these tiny minority communities. What has your reception as a trans woman been within the Jewish community?
The Jewish community is actually one of the most accepting religious communities that I've ever seen, because I think that there's this idea that everyone in the world is born perfect under Judaism, and there is no original sin. There's no one is born a sinner, and so since we're all born in the image of God, there's no way that can be wrong, and I think a lot of Jewish people really take that to heart, and so it's been an incredible experience.
So glad to hear that.
Even if some people are hesitant, they usually have an open mind, because that's another thing that I think Judaism teaches, is having an open mind, asking a lot of questions, and just always wanting to know more.
What's the most common question you get?
I guess the most common question is, how long ago did I transition? Which it's coming up on 10 years actually this year. So that's crazy.
Mazal
Yeah.
tov.
Thank you. Thank you.
Who is embracing the queer community well within the Jewish community? Are there certain organizations or spaces that you have found to be particularly strong in this regard?
Oh, absolutely. And I think this is an organization that you know of too. It's JQ International.
Absolutely, yes. My brother Henry is involved with them and was honored by them this past year, which I know was an event you were at that I was not able to be at.
Yes, I
Yeah.
was there, and that was so incredible. And I think JQ International is an organization that just dedicates themselves to that bond between the LGBT community and the Jewish community, and finding those parallels, because there are so many, and just focusing on the idea of tikkun olam, repairing the world, bringing everyone together. So many of us are diasporic Jews,
Mm-hmm.
and we all long for this sense of community and coming together. And I think the LGBT community feels the same way, where we all just want community, want to be together. And JQ International really emphasizes that.
Shout out to JQ International.
Mm-hmm.
You're loud and proud as a Jew, as a trans woman, but I know over the past 2 years from every, proud Jewish person I've spoken to within the queer community, what a difficult time and hostile time it's been for Jews who are in any way supportive of Israel.
Mm-hmm.
Have you been feeling that?
Absolutely. It's been a wild ride and really surprising, because in my space of advocacy in the LGBT community, we've all been so proud to advocate for other marginalized communities. But
Yeah.
when Jews needed it, suddenly, like October 8th, everyone's like saying how much they hate Israel, how much they hate Zionism, which is like they never even heard of that word before October 8th. And I thought something's a little fishy here. This is like something is not adding up with what people are saying about Israel right now. And the more that I sat with that, the more passionate I became because it just really didn't make sense to me.
I'm glad that you went down that road and did that work. I think there's nothing wrong with asking the questions and finding out for yourself. In fact, I think that's a good thing. And it can be really tough, especially in the spaces that you inhabit, which are such progressive leftist spaces where the pervading narrative is so strong and so many people are going along with it without having done any digging at all. I would imagine you've had some difficult conversations or perhaps
Yes,
lost friendships. I mean, what's that been like on a personal level for you?
I've really been trying to put my friendships and my connections with people above the things that we disagree on.
Yeah,
Um,
same.
yeah, and which is really difficult. But I've realized that this bandwagon that so many people have jumped onto about hating Israel and being anti-Zionist but not anti-Semitic, which is impossible. They've become so emboldened by this idea that they are correct, that they can't differentiate between wanting to be friends or having a connection with me and disagreeing on something. They can't have both at the same time. And so some of the conversations I've had have been where I would let, you know, this person talk about their opinion and I would really try my best to understand it. But then when I would share mine, they would just interrupt me every sentence, saying that I'm wrong, saying that I'm, just jumping in with whatever language that they learned on their bandwagon of hating Jews.
Are you talking about one specific situation or that's something that's happened?
That's something that's happened repeatedly because they just don't wanna hear it. They don't even wanna hear that there's a different opinion because to them, that they believe that there's a genocide happening, and if you support that, then you are an evil person. But it's like, you really think that the majority of people support a genocide? No, why would I support a genocide? You know me as a person, so clearly there must be a difference in understanding of what's going on.
What you just said, that last piece, like, of course, I don't support genocide. So, like, clearly, we're just not working from the same understanding. Why do you feel like that's so difficult for people to understand, especially within the queer community that has been, really united against Israel in a really surprising way?
I know, which is so insane because in Israel, that's the only place you can openly be queer.
Right.
Like, it's mind-blowing to me. They wanna be right all the time, and also they have gone so far that they've, like, gone to this extreme where on the horseshoe theory, so, like, imagine a horseshoe where, like, there's the extreme left, and then they start thinking exactly like the extreme right does.
Yeah.
They don't care about facts, they cherry pick what they wanna hear and say, to support their side, and then they don't wanna hear anything else, and I think there's a lot of trauma within the LGBT community where I think it's pushed them to be like, "If you disagree with me or if you have a question about my identity or what's going on, you must not accept me, and therefore I hate you."
Mm.
And that creates such a divide, rather than bringing people in and wanting people to understand. And so I think they've done the same thing with Israel and with every other issue, is they're like, "If you disagree with me, then you must be terrible."
How do we combat that? How are you trying to combat that? I mean, what has anything worked for you?
So I put together a huge presentation to show to different organizations, brands, just behind the scenes to try to help them understand what's really going on in Israel and for the Jews, but particularly focusing on companies that have posted in support of Hamas or against Israel and, trying to help them see some of the facts on the Jewish and Israeli side. So behind the scenes, I've been doing that, but also, a really effective way I've been trying to do it is sprinkling in facts that are completely inarguable. Like, these are real things, you can't argue with these facts, and sprinkling them in, to my content to a point where people might not even notice.
Can you give me an
Um,
example of a fact that you would sprinkle?
Absolutely, absolutely. So I have a post up that's sitting at, like, 80,000 likes right now with, that ended up being a partnership with the platform Feminist on Instagram, and it was about transphobia and anti-Semitism, because I got this really nasty message that had both of those intertwined in it. And in the caption, I used lyrics from Eden Golan's Hurricane,
Mm.
which I'm obsessed with her. And
She's pretty great.
I know, and I knew that those were lyrics that anyone could relate to, whether it's grief, losing someone, or wanting to see the light in people. There were definitely a few people who picked up on it, that those were lyrics from Eden Golan's song, but the only people who picked up on it were Jewish people and pro-Israeli people.
Right.
The other ones didn't even know. Moments of information or moments of crossover where, yeah, you can relate to these lyrics even if you say you hate Israel.
Right. You sort of tricked people into relating to one another. I want to go back to what you said talking to brands and this presentation. Can you tell me more about what this presentation entailed and how did you go about, beginning these conversations?
So these were brands that I worked with previously and continue to work with. I think I started becoming so fed up with all of the craziness people were saying. I mean, the blood libels.
Of course.
I started putting together a presentation to organize all of the facts, my ideas, and it ended up being like 150 slides.
Oh, wow.
So I didn't give all of it. There was no time. So I just sort of like picked a few moments.
Well, how did it go?
It went well. I think they kept asking, "Okay, well, what do you want us to do? Like, what do you and, what do you how do you want us to change?" Which is a great question. And I like to think that I made an impact because they post now a little less about, Hamas. They had some moments where they posted about Greta Thunberg,
Hmm.
which, by the way, I think is the most hilarious thing ever.
On the SS Jihad Jamboree?
Yes. Oh my god. It's so funny. There have been so many companies, like, for example, CoverGirl, and Sally Hansen who, I don't wanna talk about any of their political beliefs or anything, but regardless of politics, all they want is inclusion,
Hmm.
and that has been so incredible. So there are brands like that who, regardless if they love you, they love you.
Let's talk about that. You were part of a huge campaign with CoverGirl. I mean, what did that mean to you?
That was amazing because I actually didn't know that I was the first trans face of CoverGirl until a week before it released. So that's about a year after we shot the campaign. What was amazing as well is I used to work retail at these beauty stores like Sephora, Ulta, where now my face would be in the stores. And
Wow.
and I remember, like, look, I love Ulta, okay? But my working there, retail was not for me. And so
Okay.
the fact that the fact that I got to turn it around and, see my face there was just otherworldly. My parents went and took pictures with it, and it meant a lot. I think it was a milestone for me to realize that my hard work got me somewhere that I could only have dreamed of before.
That's amazing. What's the main thing you wish the world understood about the trans community? That just like they're just not getting it, and if they got it, the conversation would change.
There are an infinite number of, different kinds of people in the world, whether it's a masculine woman or a feminine man or and any which way combination that have any interests or what they look like, anything. The same thing is within the trans community. We're all having the same human experience of what we like, don't like, how we feel about ourselves, and we just want to coexist. We just want to get along and be ourselves at the same time as other people get to be themselves, and that's really it.
When you hear the, common sort of refrains like, I don't want a man in a woman's bathroom, something like that. What does it feel like to hear that? And what do you say in response to that?
I've done a lot of work trying to understand where that idea and fear may be coming from, and, I'm gonna start with the man in the woman's bathroom instead of, like, a woman in the man's bathroom. Uh, so this idea of having a man in a woman's bathroom comes from this fear, this very genuine, understandable fear that cis women, so women who are not trans, have where men historically have invaded their spaces. Women have had to fight for the right to vote, for to get had to have their own credit card, to own property. And so when they think of someone who's not a cis woman entering the women's bathroom, they're like, "Oh my god, they must be an invasive force of some kind." It's like a
Mhm.
trauma response almost.
Right, right.
What we have to do is help them understand that, um, there isn't a man walking into the bathroom, it's just a trans woman walking into the bathroom, so we have to help them understand that this isn't a man, this is one of you. Her experience is just a little different, and we also have to help them understand that if someone wanted to come into the bathroom of the opposite gender and do something horrible, they would do it anyway. They don't need to dress up as, or they don't need to get in drag to
Right.
go into a women's bathroom and do something terrible. They will just do it anyway. Why would trans people go through all of this work, no matter how little or how much they've done to change themselves outwardly? Why would we do all of that to just use the bathroom with you? You know?
Right. Right.
Mhm.
That's doesn't take too much critical thinking to get there, but it seems to be a
Right.
heavy lift for a lot of people.
Right, but again, there's fear. There's fear. So we just have to get over that hump.
And that leads me to my next question, which you clearly are very empathetic to the way other people might feel when engaging or thinking about a trans person, which I think is very generous.
Mm.
As you move through the world, like what is your expectation of others? Because, some people are going to be scared. Some people won't care. Some people are confused. How difficult is it to be open to these different kinds of reactions?
There always has to be an underlying understanding of respect, right? So I respect you, you respect me, and then from there, there's not much else wrong we can purposefully do, right? So there's that aspect, and I also like to think about, you know, if someone is having a reaction that I wish they didn't have, where is it coming from? Like, is it coming from curiosity because they're confused and they want to know more? Or is it coming from, they have done some research and they still hate trans people? Like, where is it coming from? So if they hate trans people already, then it's like, my energy and time is better spent elsewhere.
Yeah.
But usually, most of the time, most people here are willing to understand or at least willing to have their minds changed, and those are the ones we need to focus on.
That's very encouraging to hear. I'm glad that's been your experience. I know you mentioned, the notion of everyone being made in God's image, B'Tselem
Mhm,
Elohim.
mhm.
How beyond that, have you dug deeper into what Judaism has to say about gender or transitioning or any of that?
First of all, and, I feel like this is so important to mention, is that I went to Jewish school from pre-K until senior of year of high school. So, every single, year that I grew up before college was Jewish day school. Then I went to NYU after that, and the language I studied as, like, my required language was Hebrew.
How amazing.
Then my thesis was how Judaism and being trans intersect and what, Judaism says about trans people and gender. And Judaism, from our understanding, there's at least like 7 genders that, people talk about.
Right, that's like in the Talmud, right?
Yeah, yeah, and don't ask me what their names what they're called because I don't remember. I just remember seeing so much crossover because in Jewish spirituality, there's a lot of talk of the soul and a lot of very internal, understanding of who we are rather than external, and I think the same goes for the trans experience. It's very internal, and then we happen to express it outwardly. There's such a crossover with how trans people are experiencing the world with Kabbalah and Jewish mysticism, and, yeah, I mean, it could go on forever.
Right.
I also wanna say too that in a similar vein, when I visited Israel, a month ago,
Oh,
uh,
wow.
that was also something that I really felt from the Israelis around me, is they were very much like, "Okay, who are you as a person? Are you aligned with what we know is right? What are you or do you get it? Okay, you get it? Okay, then nothing else matters."
Right.
And that's kind of what I've felt with my Jewish community and everything. Yeah.
That's beautiful. You were in Israel during the attacks on Iran, right?
Yes, I landed about 8 hours or so before the attack started.
Perfect timing.
Mhm. My first time ever visiting,
Oh my god,
and
this was your first trip.
Yeah, my first trip ever.
So it's not always like that.
Right. Like, I I knew that there would be sirens, but I didn't expect there to be, like, at least 3 sirens a day and in the middle of the night, and half of the shops were closed, and no one could really gather, and I went there for Tel Aviv Pride. And I remember, like, I landed the night before the Pride parade, and I'm texting my friend, his name is Moti, he's so hilarious and amazing. And I was texting him saying, "Okay, well, I'm just gonna get ready for the Pride parade," and he said, "Madison, it's canceled." Like, "Oh, okay, then I'm sure we'll go to the party tonight." It's like, "Madison, I don't think that's happening." It's like, "Okay." And it didn't really hit me until, the airport closed, and that's when I said, "Oh, I'm stuck here right now." It was a crazy experience, but I always like to partner the fact that it was crazy with how rewarding it was, because the amount of resilience that Israelis have, and also their ability to see the end goal, no matter what. Like, of course, Israelis don't wanna be in bomb shelters. Of course, they don't wanna be experiencing this, but they know that the end goal is to get rid of a regime of terror, that oppresses its own people so much that, I mean, just a few years ago, people were rightfully chanting in the streets, "Woman, life, freedom."
Right.
And we should continue doing that for the people of Iran. But now people, because of their hatred of Israel, are siding with that same
Yeah.
regime. It makes no sense. But people in Israel understand that, and they also understand their role of protecting America. There's this idea of, "You, Madison, are American. You are so aren't you so lucky that you don't have to deal with this and that we're fighting this for you?" That was the energy I got of, like, "We're doing this so that you can have your freedom and you don't have to worry about this."
Mm.
Um, and n nothing, no matter how many people in the world hate Israel, they don't care. They know what's right,
Yeah.
and they're doing it. And that's why it was so rewarding.
Were you scared?
Yes, but I'm gonna preface it by, at the time, I've sort of changed it up because I was a little too numb, but
Mm.
I was on the highest dose of my SSRI that I could be on, and I was numbed out. So, like, I was like, you know, I only had 2 moments where I freaked out, but otherwise I was like, "Well, what are we gonna do?" Like, "Okay."
Yeah, I mean,
And it was also my first time out of the country in 11 years.
wow.
Yeah, and, so I was afraid, but um, I also knew that the Israeli government and Israeli people care about each other's safety. They tell you when you get there, when you get to a hotel, where the safe zone is.
Mhm.
And I feel so terrible that the innocent civilians of Iran who truly are being oppressed by their government don't have things like that.
Right.
Like, don't have shelters to go to. I felt safe. I was scared, but I was also very numb. And if I wasn't so numb, I also wouldn't have made it on my 68-hour trip back home.
68?
Yeah, it's crazy. Included a 28-hour, like, motorized, imagine, like, a motorized fishing boat, a 28-hour ride on that boat with no service to Cyprus, and then just hopped on a flight, 19 hours to come back to LA.
Oh my gosh.
And before the 28 hours, we waited, like, 14 just to, like, get approval and everything to be on the boat, and it was wild. It was wild.
Wow. So you said you haven't left
Yeah.
the country in 11 years and you transitioned almost 10
Mhm.
years ago. So that means this was your first international trip as a woman.
Good catch, exactly.
How did that feel to move through the world that way?
It felt so normal, but also I know it felt normal because of the country I went to,
Mm.
because Israel, I mean, at least the part I was in Tel Aviv, it was like, "Oh, you're trans? Okay, well, next to you, there's, like, the most goth, non-binary person," and, like, no one cares. I've also always wanted to travel El Al, just since I was a kid, because in, like, 1st grade, they'd be like, "What is the Israeli airline?" And we'd be like, "El Al." It was amazing, incredible food, and then I I remembered, that Greta Thunberg had a flight on El Al, and I remember, like, I got Wi-Fi on the plane just so I could text my friends a picture of the food, and I said, "You're telling me that Greta got this spread of food and then said that she was kidnapped.
Right.
So my point is, even from the moment I was on the plane, even more things were being put into perspective
Yeah.
of, oh, this is reality. And,
Mhm.
people praying, davening at the airport gate because it was time to do it.
Yeah.
I felt so at home, that moving through the world as a trans person for the first time really, felt like easy breezy.
All right, Madison, if people want to follow what you're up to and see some of your advocacy work, where can they find you?
They can find me on Instagram, at Madison Werner. My last name is spelled like Warner Brothers, but with an E instead of an A. I'm just continuing to do my beauty, human rights, Jewish advocacy. So if you don't see me posting about Israel blatantly yet, it's because I'm sprinkling in information still. I'm in my subtle tricking people into getting.
Incepting.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Like cultivating a space where they have to get along. Yeah.
Hmm. Love that. We need more of that. Madison, thank you so much. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for emphasizing the importance of fighting the hate and having pride for your identity and your Judaism and everything that you are.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. This is such an honor. And ever since I saw your podcast, I was like, I have to be on that.
Well, we did it. You
We did
made
it.
it. All right.
Thank
She's a mensch. It's been 30 minutes. I'm Jonah Platt. Be proud. See you next time.